Saxon Math 4 group. This is lesson 31, word problems about comparing. And so when we compare things, usually we're going to be doing some subtracting. So keep your eye out for that. We're going to start off with a warm-up with the mental math. Okay. It says in A through C, practice splitting that second number to add. So the way I like to do that, if we look at 57, it needs 3 to become 60. So let's take the 3 from that 8, and you know it leaves 5. So now you've got your 60, but plus a 5, so it's 65. Now, on this one, think about what the 78 needs to become 80. Take that from the 6, and keep in mind what you're leaving behind. And now you have 84. Think about what the 49 needs to become 50. And what will be left over, and so your answer is, all right. On this one, the trick is going to be to pretend that this is 20, okay? So think about 63 plus 20, take away 1, and add the 200. 282. Talking about time now. The Johnsons are driving to Yosemite National Park. They expect that the drive will take 6 hours. If the Johnsons left their house at 6:50 a.m., what time would they expect to arrive at the park? So add 6 onto this hour, and you have 12:50 p.m. because we're past noon. Measurement. Many adults are about 2 yards tall. 2 yards is how many feet? Well, remember there are 3 feet in 1 yard, so that would mean there are 6 feet in 2 yards. Geometry, true or false? Parallel lines intersect. And here's an example of parallel lines right here, the 2 L's in the middle of the word parallel. And intersect means to cross. Parallel lines never intersect, so that is false. Estimation. Madison has $18.47. Round this amount to the nearest 25 cents. So let's look at this 47 cents. Is it closer to 1 quarter, 2 quarters, or 3 quarters? Well, it's closer to 2, so that would be $18.50. Problem solving. It tells us to choose an appropriate strategy. Here we show 4 squares. The first is made up of 1 small square. The second, third, and fourth squares are made up of 4, 9, and 16 small squares. Describe the pattern that you see. How many small squares would make up the 6th square of the pattern, and explain how you arrived at your answer. So I always like to make a table for these kinds of things. And so number of squares. And the first one was 1. Now the second one, if we look at it, it is 2 across. It's 2 by 2. Okay. This one was 1 times 1, right? Equals 1. The second one was 2 by 2, and that gave us 4. The third one was 3 by 3. And that gave us 9, and then we were up to 4 times 4, and that gave us 16. Now this is the first, second, third, fourth. We have to do 2 more to get the 6th. So the next in the pattern would be what? You got it. 5 times 5, and that equals 25. The next one is 6 times 6 equals 36. So the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th, 6th number, that would be 36 squares. And this is where square roots come from. It's like saying the root of the square. This one was just 1. The root of this one, it's 2 by 2, so the root of that is 2. So the square root of 4 is 2. On this one, the root is 3. Do you see that? 3 across by 3 up. So the square root of 9 is 3. What do you think the square root of 16 is? It's 4. What do you think the square root of 25 is? It's 5. And how about the square root of 36? It's 6. It's kind of like when you're looking at a big word and you look for the root word, square roots look for the root of the square, which is one of the measurements. Okay, example 1 with our topic today. Andrea picked 42 apples at the apple orchard. Her younger brother picked 13 apples. How many more apples did Andrea pick than her brother? So it didn't ask for how many in all. It's comparing the two. It wants to know how many more Andrea picked. So we're finding the difference, and when we find the difference, we subtract. When we subtract, we normally put the larger number on top. So we're going to do 42 minus 13. And we cannot take 3 away from 2, so we're going to borrow. 12 minus 3 is 9, and 3 minus 1 is 2. So the final answer for this one is 29 apples. And when we're doing word problems, I always like for you to include a label with your answer. You go back and pretty much read the question. You go back and read the question and write what you would answer out of your mouth. How many more apples did Andrea pick than her brother? She picked 29 more apples. Let's go on to the next one. There were 17 apples in a basket and 63 apples in a barrel. How many fewer apples were in the basket than were in the barrel? Okay, we're still wanting to find the difference between those two numbers. So which one would go on top? Yeah, the 63. So let's do 63 minus 17. Okay, 3. Take away 7 from that. You can't. So let's go to the neighbor to ask for some help. 13 take away 7 is 6, and 5 minus 1 is 4. So let's look at our question again. How many fewer apples were in the basket than were in the barrel? You could say 46 fewer apples. And it would be fine to just say 46 apples. And on the last one, we could have said more apples. Okay, let's take a look at the next one. The number represented by point B is how much greater than the number represented by point A? So I have to do some figuring out. Let's see, do our tick marks stand for 1? Yes, they do. So point A stands for 26. What would point B stand for? 42. So 42 is larger. Going to do 42 minus 26. Two minus 6, we need some help from the neighbor. 12 minus 6 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. So the difference is 16. Point B is 16 greater than point A. Okay, practice. Write and solve an equation for each problem. An equation is just write a math problem with an equal sign. Okay, A, 43 is how much greater than 27? We would write down 43 minus 27. So let's do that. We need some help here. Let's borrow. 13 minus 7 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. So this is our answer. 14 minus 27 equals 16. Now let's look at B. Maricela has 42 CDs. Frank has 22 CDs. How many fewer CDs does Frank have? This one is an easy one to do in your head. 42 minus 22 would leave what? 20 CDs. Let's look at C. Caesar had 53 shells. Juanita had 95 shells. How many more shells did Juanita have? Okay, so let's take a look at this one. 95 minus 53. And like on the last one, even though we could do it mentally, you still, if it asks for an equation, you have to write that. Okay, 5 minus 3 is 2, and 9 minus 5 is 4. So 42 more shells. All right, we are finished.